Happy New Year. Hope you all made it through the holidays good. Hope you're feeling good. Hope you got whatever you wanted. And that more importantly, you made other people happy with things that you got them. But we have a new year to look forward to, and I have no idea what we're going to be doing for that year. So it's kind of going to be like a choose your own adventure. That's the way I'm approaching this. But I saw some things that are really positive, including 2 days ago where I debated filming a video about it for yesterday, but I thought it would make a little bit more sense if we kind of talked it out in real time, because I could answer some questions along the way as to why I think it's like actually more of a big deal than people would perceive, and that has to do with Fender. But a few other things I want to get to on top of that, including something I saw this morning from Earthquaker Devices. They teamed up with Dr. Z, and you guys know I love both Earthquaker Devices and Dr. Z, and I think it's really cool. But one or two things that kind of confused me about it, especially in this market, that really would have made it like a must-buy versus well, not a must-buy, but you know what I mean, something more appealing versus something that I'm like, that's still extremely useful. However, I'll say hello, and then we'll see what's going on. We can do a review of what's up. And I'm not going to NAMM this year, unfortunately. I can't go for reasons out of my control this time. Not a choice. But hello, Greg. Tiger Palmer. Hello, chat. Hello. Oh, man. I saw Greg's name and I laughed because he'll probably get a kick out of this Fender stuff. So what happened was on the 6th, Fender announced they have a new CEO that's going to be replacing Mr. Mooney. And normally the CEO stuff, it's not that big of a deal when these sorts of companies do it. But I remember when Caesar got the job for Gibson, a lot really changed. Because not only did he have all the professional experience outside of guitars, but he returned home to what he really loved. And some people saw this new CEO, which we're going to look at the article briefly on. I'll point a few things out because people honed in on this certain aspect of like his credentials and used it as a way to be like, oh, more of the same. It's just like, no, you don't get it. To get this sort of job, like, you got to do this. Read the other stuff because that's the important stuff. And I'm genuinely optimistic. I'm genuinely optimistic with the brand and where things could potentially go if done right. So without further ado, we're going to jump right there first. All I have to do is click that button, I believe. I did. There we go. So they announced that Bud Cole, his real name is Edward. He's the one that's going to be taking over. Now, if you don't know anything about this man, that makes a lot of sense. I do. And the reason I do is because he's been in charge of Fender Japan. He currently serves as the president for Fender Asia Pacific. All right. He's bilingual in English and Japanese. And this is the part that people kind of honed in on. I'm going to highlight it so you can see. Before joining FMIC Fender, he held senior leadership across several lifestyle, luxury, and consumer brands. I don't even know what that is. Pernod Ricard, I'm well versed. LVMH, QVC, hey, I do that too, and Ralph Lauren. Commercial expansion, brand development, blah, blah, blah. Okay? Now, why this is so interesting to me. First of all, this guy's obsessed with Japanese Fenders. This is something I've known for a while. He's obsessed with Japanese Fenders. He was responsible for that gigantic flagship store that opened up in Tokyo. He's behind that. The guy gets it. I know there's many people in here that have visited that store. It's not like a typical guitar store. It's like an homage on several different layers with like a really, really good theme behind it. And every year at Fender Japan, they just recently did this. This is independent of him becoming the new CEO. A lot of the staff gets together. They go to shrines and, well, one specific shrine, and they all kind of hang out and just get good vibes going into the new year. Is kind of a team building thing. And that's so different. So different to how corporate America works here. And so when your CEO is somebody who is, at the ground floor in charge of things that are really like a brick and mortar in this day and age. I know Japan is a different market, a different country, a different lifestyle, different everything basically, to what we have here. But him prioritizing all that is a great sign to me, and also shows that this guy knows the Fender Jaguar is extremely popular. He also knows that the offsets in general, not just the Jag, the Jazzmaster and the Mustang, as well as some other interesting guitars, like the Starcaster, when I had the dual Sparkle Fidelitron, Filtertron style pickup, Telecaster. They do all these cool Sakura tree finishes. They do all these amazing things that are just out of the box. And what's crazy to me is, I mentioned this to somebody else. I said, this guy's the president, was able to, okay, I'm not saying he brokered a deal, but he was cool with Fender Japan teaming up with an American boutique pickup builder, and that was Lawler, for a guitar that released this year. We don't have that here. That's like unheard of. It's very rare. Outside of artist models, the only recent one that I can think of where they worked with a third party was Seymour Duncan, and that was for Corey Wong Stratocaster. They made the Clean Machine pickups. So somebody who's more, willing to have other brands into the fold, to do more collaborations outside of just like everything in-house Fender, to make more unique designs. In right now, you look at the product line that Fender has, there's not particularly anything wrong with it, but there's definitely a lot of room for improvement, a lot of room for not necessarily improvement, that's the wrong word. There's a lot of room for more creativity. And one thing that's become sort of a stereotype is the most interesting designs that are available in the United States of America are not made in America. They're not made in Mexico. They are made in the Classic Vibe or the Paranormal line. Really, the Paranormal line. So if we could get more of those guitars that are typically, when Fender Japan has those ideas, they're made by the full-on Japanese production. But when we do, we get the budget versions, which is fine. But if you were able to scale it so you do have the budget versions, and then you also have the option of the higher-end version, maybe they outsource, a certain amount of them from Japan. Maybe some of them are made in America, or maybe even some of them are made like in the Vintera line. But ideally what they would do is they would have the Paranormal, the Parallel Universe rather, not Paranormal, Parallel Universe Volume 3, and then just have that as a constant. And every single year you would have new guitars come in, where you are able to have these collaborations. You're able to have different sorts of designs, and if one of them doesn't, succeed or perform or sell in the way that, they hoped that it would when they were envisioning it, that's easy. It's gone next year. Or if a guitar absolutely crushes it and it blows them away, they say, you know what? Let's keep it around. Let's make it a mainline model. And then they ride it out from there. It just leaves so much more opportunity in a line where, so much goes to the traditional stuff, and it makes sense. Normal Strats, normal Tellys, Jazzmaster here and there. But I think it's a really positive move, and yeah, I don't see much downside to it. I don't see why anybody would be upset, contentious, or disappointed with Bud getting the job, and I'm really happy for him because he's earned it. He put in the legwork overseas, and he knows what he's doing. So I'm interested to see what you guys think. It was quite a little opening monologue. I've completely lost my browser, and we're good to go. Okay. Good evening, Pink Forever. That's a weird name. Okay. You might get a proper, cheaper Jaguar now. Yeah. Well, here's the thing. I don't need it. I already have a Japanese Jaguar that he signed up for. That was a 2025 limited edition. So I don't need another Jaguar. And part of my thing with the Jaguar isn't even a complaint for me. It's a more along the case of, somebody left me a comment the other day. It's a perfect example of it on my Jaguar video where I said, why don't they make a proper Fender Jaguar? They're like, I looked all around. I couldn't find anything. And all the ones that I wanted that were used were an absolute fortune. So I just ended up with the Classic Vibe because it was the only one that was, reasonable. And I was like, yeah, exactly. And then what do you know? I think a day or two later, this gets announced, and I'm like, that guy's going to have a chance, or somebody like him in a similar situation potentially is going to have the opportunity to not have to jump through all those hoops or not compromise, because he didn't set out looking for a Squire. That's what he settled on, because the rest of the options just weren't there for him. So I think that that's a really big positive. The same thing goes with the Mustang, and I've said a lot of great things about the Vintera 2 Mustangs. They are great. But Fender Japan offer lots of matching headstocks. Fender Japan do a lot with kind of tweaks on the model. You get the Chili Beans models. You have the Char model. That one comes with the Strat vibrato on it, without all the fancy switching, just a 3-way toggle switch. They think outside of the box, and they're not scared to take chances. So I think there's a lot of interesting ideas that they don't even need to go to the drawing board for. They just simply need to find supply and marketing for in the States for existing product, or just make maybe slight changes. Like, for example, with the Jaguar that I have, I think that would be a massive success here, so long as they lengthened the width of the nut. Because I'm in the minority. I don't believe most people would be happy with a 39.4 millimeter nut. Not in this country. They're not even happy with the real Fender 1 5/8, which is 41 millimeters. If you look at the American vintage, they're 42 millimeters. Same thing with the Vinteras. So they're not even proper vintage nut widths. Interesting stuff. All right. Okay, Pernod is Champagne. LVT is Louis Vuitton. Shows you how much I know. Fender Japan released a Cyclone a couple of years ago. Yeah, they've done so much stuff. They really have. They did a Tornado not all that long ago too, and just all the off kind of like hybrid models. They've done so many cool things, like even the thin lines. They're the kings of the Tele thin lines. They're the only ones that have done the Paisleys since they were put out of production. The real Paisleys, the red Paisleys and the blue Paisleys, those have exclusively made in Japan at a production level. The only way you can get an American one is to buy one of the original ones from the late 60s or to buy a Fender custom shop. There's never been a production model. Not from them, not from Fender Mexico. And you could say, oh, well, Fender Mexico made the black Paisleys. That's about a black Paisley. That's not a reissue of one of the old ones, the red Paisley or the blue Paisley, blue flower. So you have that back opened up to you. And this was one of the years where they did reissue it, and they made some really important changes on it. And I thought that was great. They changed the neck shape. They made it more of a 60s oval C, which might not be the most accurate considering it's a late 60s model. But they listened. Players said they wanted something a little bit different. They gave them something a little bit different. It tells me the new CEO has a feel for what players want. Yeah, that's my thing right there. He really, from what I've seen, not from what he said, from what I've seen from Fender Japan, and there's few people on this platform that really follows Fender Japan for as long and as deeply as I do. And that's not to knock myself on the back here and be like, oh, I'm better than everybody else. 'Cause I'm not. I'm just another schmuck that's obsessed with these guitars. But I keep so on top of what's happening there because I find it more interesting. And that should tell you everything too, because if you're able to create a line of products on a consistent basis where even somebody who's overseas, who doesn't even have easy access to the guitars, is constantly looking and constantly like interested in what's going to be next, you're doing marketing right. You're creating great products. You're creating something engaging. You're creating things that have interest. And if we can transfer even 50% of that same feeling into the Fender America products or the Fender Mexico or whatever it is, all the better. It's all the better. So I think it's a great thing. Morning, Daniel. Off topic, what do you think of the aging of the AB2 Jazzmasters? Can I expect any good aging with the nitro over poly? Recently had a little bump and all I can see is thick poly undercoat. It's going to take you a very long time. It's going to take you a very long time to age it in a way that you're going to like. In the short term, the way that will potentially age may not be something you're very happy with. It really depends on how well you take care of your guitars. Like a nick on one of those things, it's showing just that brown wood right underneath in specs. And if you just look for any of the new American Vintage 2s used, doesn't matter which model it is, and you can look at the pictures, you'll see how the wear is happening on most of them. Very rarely are you going to see checking. Very rarely. That's not to say it's not going to happen, but it's just going to take a longer amount of time because it's a much harder finish. So, I don't know. Because I'm thinking back to American Vintage from, like, because I had a 1988, and that had some checking on it. But then again, that was in 1988. And that was a guitar that I personally, before we even speak about the people that had it before me, I got the guitar in the late 2000s. And I personally played that in very, very, very different environments, from ice cold gigs in New York to literally on the Pacific Ocean in OB. Yeah. So all the salt water and all the heat and all that fun stuff. But that developed some checking over time, but nothing like the American Vintage guitars from 2012, 2017. That Jazz Masters, they could never do that finish. They could never replicate that in the custom shop. It'd take them a million tries. They'll never get to that. Never. So good. So good. But I think it'll age pretty well so long as you don't drop the thing. You drop the thing, you bang it into things, it's going to be very unsightly. But over time, it'll show some cool wear. What's up, bud? Fresh pace can be a good thing. I agree with you 100%. You will get another Jaguar. Don't kid yourself. No, I don't think so, man. I don't think so. I'm trying to knock back. It's not a great year. It's really not a great year. I know there's this huge myth that YouTubers make all this money. It was a horrible year. It was a horrible year. Not good at all. And wait, you ever look at one of those jobs? Have you ever been at a point where you do this? You go to Craigslist and you look at those jobs. And what's a really good example of this? Because I did this. I think I was like 21, 22. And I didn't want to work a 9 to 5. And I saw this job. It was promising all this money. I ended up going. They didn't tell you what it was in the description. They just gave you a thing. You filled it out, and they'll give you an address to show up at. They're selling rainbow vacuums. You'd go door to door, and you'd demonstrate it. You'd basically spill wine on someone's carpet, and then you'd clean it up. And that seemed like a disaster to me. But here's the kicker. You only got paid if they bought it. So you would do all this work, and you could potentially do it all for nothing. And that's what this became. And I can't blame anybody that is buying right now, because who the hell has money? But also the people with money. I think part of the problem with this community, and this is a complaint that I have that really goes far beyond like affiliate sales or anything like that. I really think it's just a mentality thing. And I think that YouTube, I think that the gear page, I think that Reddit, I think all of these things contribute to this, right? People will buy something on a whim without much thought, or just because they want it, or just because, they saw something. Oh, this is incredible. This is what I need. They didn't actually need it. They didn't actually want it. Or what also happens is something else comes along while you're in the return period. So what do? I'm not going to take a loss on this. I'm going to make the online retailer, who probably gave you a deal on it, I'm going to make them take a loss on it. So that's what you do. So you return it. And then you've hurt the person who sold you the product, and then you've hurt the company, and now they're stuck with inventory that's been used. And you're going to buy something that, guess what? You're probably going to do the same thing over and over again, because people just aren't happy with what they have. That's the long and short of it. Now, I do this, and it's weird, but a video that I'm done filming, I have to edit it. I'm having a hard time staring at with the lights. This is even bothering me right now. But I'm having a hard time staring at computers for a long time and with bright lights. But the premise of the video is I saw 3 videos that got really popular over the holidays. And they were all just like, "Oh, check out my minimalist pedal board." And every single one of the guys had an HX Stomp on it. And I'm just cracking up. I'm like, no, you only need 2 pedals. Yeah, and one of those pedals that you're using does every freaking thing under the sun and can be a standalone amplifier. What are you talking about? It doesn't count. So I made a video with one pedal. That's an actual pedal. That's not an HX stomp or anything like an HX stomp. And how if I was on a desert island or if I had to rebuild my pedal board from scratch, what one pedal would I buy? And this would be it. And it will be no surprise to any of you that watch this channel. But I thought that was a lot of fun. But I bring that to you because at the end of the day, in practice, that's all I need. That's all I need. And a lot of gigging musicians, they'll say the same thing. You don't need all this crap. You don't. Are the toys fun to have? Yeah. Do you need all the toys? No, you don't. Are they making new 2026? They're absolutely going to make new 2026 models. Now, I'm not sure how much his influence is going to have power over the lines that could release this year. And if it does happen, unless this was really, really, really well orchestrated prior to this announcement, I don't see it happening until at least the fall. However, with that being said, this is the 75th anniversary of the Telecaster. You don't think they're going to have a lot of tellies? You don't think that at NAMM there's going to be a few limited edition tellies that come out? Are you nuts? You know they're going to do that. Well, I know they're going to do that. What they are, what specs they are, what lines they are, what prices they are, I can't even imagine. But there'll definitely be a lot of new tellies at the very least. Do you think the new CEO will cause Jags to be as popular? No, nothing will cause Jags to be as popular as Jazzmasters. And I think that, the Johnny Marrs have really kind of not helped a traditional Jaguar's cause because a lot of people think they have any idea what a Jaguar sounds like, and a Jaguar sounds nothing like a Johnny Marr. They're distant cousins. They're distant cousins. Functionally, they're extremely different. Tonally, they're very different. Multitude of different things. So a lot of people associate a Jaguar sound with a Johnny Marr, and it's apples to oranges. I think a closer comparison almost is a Telly versus a regular Jaguar and the Johnny Marr. They're just fundamentally so different. Not in the market for guitars, but I hope Fender Katana or Boss Marauder. They made a Marauder. What was that? 2012? I think the last time they made the Marauder was 2012, and at that time they also made. They brought back the Coronado. The Coronado is Chinese made. Candy apple red, black, and then like a really weird 3-tone sunburst. But I always thought that was kind of like a cool guitar. Not a pure alternative to a 335, but I thought it was a cool guitar. And that was an interesting year for Fender, 2012. They had a lot of cool guitars, a lot of cool amplifiers too. They had the Vaporizer. It was a 2x10 amp with crazy reverb on it. They had the kind of banjo lap steel amp that was a 15-inch speaker on it. They had the Greta that I have. It's a little baby one with a 3-inch speaker. And then they had the whole Pawn Shop series. They had the Pawn Shop Mustangs that had wide range humbucking pickups on them. The 72s, the 51 Telebass. They had all sorts of good stuff. And then when you went to Fender Japan, what did you have? The super thin line Deluxe Telecaster, the thin line Mustang, the thin line Fender Jaguar. And believe it or not, out of all of those, the only one that I don't rate is the thin line Fender Jaguar. I don't think that's a good representation of a guitar. It feels off. Feels off. But I love the super thin line Deluxe. Obviously. I have one of those. Be interesting to see what happens with Fender-owned brands like Gretsch and G&L. I think we are going to not see a ton immediately with G&L from Fender. They have no reason to rush it. Well, what do they get out of rushing something to market? I think that the best business strategy they could have would be to really, really, really think this through if they bought it with the intention of making G&L guitars. In my personal opinion, I think the best course of action for them would be to wait, think, test, reevaluate, actually gauge what's going to work, actually gauge what people really like about the guitars, because obviously there wasn't enough that people loved about these guitars for them to buy them in the quantity that was needed. Otherwise, we wouldn't be in a situation where G&L went under now, would we? So I think a lot of that's going to have to happen. But as far as Gretsch goes, there'll be definitely new Gretsch guitars. They don't release as many new things per year as Fender. They're just not as big of a brand. And Fender don't have full 100% control over that. It's kind of a different situation, you know, because the Gretsch family is still involved. So a little bit. 75 years of the Telly. Yeah, isn't that wild? Think about it, though. Really, you're looking at the Broadcaster, and I think they'll do one called the Broadcaster for old time's sake. Why not, right? But I think it's really exciting for Fender. I think that there's a lot of upside, and if there was a time to make a really bold move like this and to also make really bold moves with your product line, I can't think of a better one. Sales aren't the best all around, you know. So if you can entice people with any way that you can entice people, rather, I think is a really positive thing. And it makes me happy because Fender are my favorite brand. So, yeah. Makes sense. You never knew they made a thin line Jag. Yeah, it's because it was made in very limited numbers. Very limited numbers. Never to be seen again. Whereas in 2015, they made another run of the super thin line deluxes. And then somebody in America had the bright idea of, wait, these are really popular. These are really popular. So they made an Americanized version of those guitars for the original Parallel Universe run that were made in the United States of America with a orange finish on them. The TV Joneses from the factory, and they didn't sell as well. Specs were a little bit more modern, and the quality control compared to the Japanese wasn't there at the time. Wasn't there at the time. But they saw it worked, and they tried to make it work in their own way. And that's smart, because if something works, in my opinion, you just keep doing it. But they tried. They can do the Broadcaster now that they own Gretsch. Yeah. Well, they already make Esquires. They already make Esquires, and they already sell guitars as Nocasters. If you look at the Vintera 2, there's a Vintera 2 Nocaster. So, yeah. Broadcaster wouldn't surprise me this year. Especially this year. Even if they're only getting a license for it to do this year. Or the okay to do it for this year. I think it'll happen. You'd like a thin line Jazzmaster. You can get those right now if you're happy with not having Fender on the headstock. If you want a more modern run, there's a brand called Psych-to-Rhythm in Japan. Awesome. Let me get thin line Jazzmaster. Badass. Super badass. If you want one that's a little bit more traditional in spec outside of the fact that, you know, it's a thin line. Momose. They've made several over the years. Harder to come by. That's because they're not pumping out 1 billion guitars a year. They'd rather just make a few great ones. And then, you know, people don't sell them. They keep them because what they got was actually great to begin with. Again, difference in philosophy. Japan and America. Well, Japan and the West, really. Yeah, I think it would be a positive thing. And I think now with things tightening up for the foreseeable future, you know, bar any other crazy stuff that could potentially happen in this world, I think the smartest thing that brands could do, and this isn't just for guitar brands, I think the smartest thing that they could do would be to really listen to customer feedback and get things right and not worry about, you know, oh, well, how am I going to get them to come back next time through nefarious means, whether it's, you know, with amplifiers, we're designing them to have a certain shelf life without sort of the repairability or the serviceability being feasible on them. Things like that. And same thing could be said for cars. You know, you can go into anything at this day and age because so many modern parts have really hindered the right to repair. And, you know, the individual consumer's agency and autonomy and able to do those things should something go wrong. But with guitars specifically, if you really just took that most kind of perspective and view of the instruments. Now you can't do this across all the product lines. It financially doesn't make sense, and not everybody across all the manufacturers and different factories are going to have the talent to be able to do this. Let's just call a spade, nor the materials. But for Fender American guitars, I think is a really good example of this, especially once you get into the higher tier. If the number one priority becomes nothing passes QC unless it hits every single one of these boxes, no excuses. And then people are getting guitars and they're like, whoa, because that's a big deal. When you have people buzzing, and it's real buzz, it's not influencer buzz, it's not some dude who's being sent his 6th Fender guitar of the year, so excited about it, telling you how you need to go buy it. It's not that. But when it's happening on such a consistent basis that the customers, they're getting the guitars themselves and they're like, holy crap, like this is amazing. Because every time I've opened up a Mimosa, I'm like, huh, I laugh. They're so freaking good because they put the time in. And if we could get there on a much more consistent basis with this isn't just the Fender America. You could point to the entire big three, really. All of them could stand to improve here. Especially the know-it-all. A lot of room for improvement there too. But if we could deliver better initial quality, that's great. And then that helps with two birds with one stone, because then the customer, they can focus on actually playing the damn instrument, which is really what needs to happen, just in a general sense anyway, because you can accumulate all this stuff indefinitely if you don't use it or you don't do anything with it. Why'd you do that? I don't know. My perspective is just a little bit different. That's all. And it did feel really good. I uploaded so much less than I wanted to because I was just so busy. But I was busy in a happy way. It felt so good to not have a camera on me, and I'm so happy I decided against filming tracking. Although it would have made for great content later. I really would have killed my creativity. I know it would have. But I got so much done. And that made me really happy. And just needs to be more of that. And one of my friends, I didn't know this. This is interesting news. One of my friends, since I was a kid, he opened up his own recording studio. And he's the real deal. He did a record with Steve Albini. He's the bassist for a band that did that before Albini passed. And he's toured the world. He knows his shit inside and out. And I found out yesterday that he is officially in charge of his own studio. And I'm like, what a small world. We went on skate trips together. We went all the way up to Canada. For those of you old enough to skateboard, there's going to be probably none of you are going to know what the hell I'm talking about. There was a place in Montreal called the Taj Mahal. Now, the Taj Mahal is a skate park that was inside. And it was amazing. But we went all the way up there. We stayed at a campsite. And we just had so many memories of just getting along with so much with the music that we liked, obviously skateboarding and playing in bands and all that. And he really, really, really had so much talent, but he made use of it. And he had a very successful career, and now he's parlayed that into owning his own studio. So I was just so happy for him when I saw that. I love seeing people succeed that put in the work and earn it. People handed it to them, or people that half-ass it, not so much. Actually gets at my bad side, but at the end of the day, that's companies, that's who they want to work with. I'm waiting for a limited edition Fiesta Red Squire Classic Vibe Jag. Well, you could be waiting for a while, or you could be waiting a month. I don't have any secret info, but that's just kind of the way the Squire works. Wait for NAMM. You never know what's gonna pop up. There will be special colors, but the interesting thing is, with the Jags especially, the special runs have pretty much been proprietary to the Chicago Music Exchange, and they've been very sparkly the last few years. Very sparkly, not so much on the custom color thing. You had golden and blue sparkle as the two most recent examples of that. So I would love to see them be able to introduce more traditional colors into that line. And when I saw the Mustang, which this just weird, the Kurt Cobain style one, right, in the classic vibe line with the matching headstock, I'm just like, why don't you can't just do it with the Jag? Please, I'm begging you, do it. Or even that Tahitian Coral Jazzmaster classic vibe that released. I think that would have crushed with a matching headstock on it. Good afternoon. Gretchen's going nowhere. They are currently knocking it out with a one pickup jet for $189. Bought one for your niece. She loves it. As long as the little one is happy, she's playing, and you keep her off of GearTube, she's going to be a musician one day. Cheers to you, James. Cheers to the doggos. A new type of offset would be great. Completely new shape. I don't trust anybody to do that. There's only one brand that I've played so many offsets. There's only one brand that's gotten it right outside of Fender. And that's Music Man. That Mariposa is out of this world good. It's out of this world good. Out of this world. And it's so Fendery. Like old, like if you play vintage Fenders, you'll pick that up. Yeah, the shape is very foreign, and it's got a 2-point vibrato, but you feel the neck, and you're like, how does this guitar, this spaceship-looking funky design, with only 2 volume controls on it, how is this thing, neck feel-wise, more accurate to a pre-CBS Fender in so many ways, outside of the bigger frets? Because they're medium-sized frets, stainless steel frets. It's incredible. And it's perfectly balanced. It is, I smile thinking about that one. But I've tried so many other offsets, and some of them are pretty good. Some of them have other issues. I think Reverend makes some interesting stuff, but, there's a big divide with those. They're not as widely as accepted as some of the other ones. So, we'll see. I know Reverend have a lot of big news and announcements this year. Apparently they've done a lot to revamp their line, so it'll be interesting to see what they come up with. For all we know, they could have a great new offset design. I don't see it. I don't have any information. I'm not privy to any of that. I've just been told to pay attention and check what goes on. The CVT looks pretty cool too. All right. Cycle Life. They tried to do that with the Meteora, but I don't see anyone buying them. That's because the Meteora, I just don't think it's a good design. Aesthetically, I don't think it's a good design. And what does it really have different about it? That's the thing. Like when you're pitching a product, when you're making a product, one of the things that you have to do is you have to hit for point of differentiation, and you have to hit for a target demographic. Who is that guitar made for, and what makes it different as opposed to everything else that's in the market? You tell me. The name, the Meteora name. That's about it. You want a dual humbucker guitar that's 9 times out of 10 going to weigh less too. You just buy and if it has to be a Fender, you buy a Telecaster. They offer a lot of dual humbucker Telecasters, from a modern variety to a more vintage variety, depending on your taste. Some thin line, some solid body. The Ultras, the Meteoras, didn't even come with a vibrato. I thought that was just a baffling mistake, because one of the reasons why I somewhat understood before that in the Ultra 1 series, the Jazzmaster being included, was because that really did offer that hit more of a target demographic, and I can understand that more from a business planning and just a pitching standpoint, because the Ultra 1 Jazzmaster was so fundamentally different and going for such a different player than either the Telecaster or the Stratocaster that were also in the line. You still got the offset vibrato on it. You still got the body shape that people were really familiar with. It was just so modern outside of that. So you took that out, and then you gambled on a guitar that in the Player 2, or was it Player 2 or Player Plus? Player Plus Meteoras, they never sold great. And if you can remember, in the last year and a half, Fender.com have had several different occurrences where those guitars were being blown out. And I mean blown out, like almost half price. They were 40% off multiple different times for the Meteora specifically. They did not sell that great. So you took that sales information and you turned it into the Ultra 2. Not everyone bats 1,000. You know, who am I? I'm just a guy who watches things from the outside on the internet. I'm not an expert. I can't speak on authority. But I don't see it happening. Man, every time I hope Variax gets a new guitar if mine ever breaks. I don't, yeah. Variax is something that I don't got nothing for it. And Line 6 are not on my good side right now. But if I speak, I'll be in big trouble. I won't be in big trouble, but I'm trying to give the benefit of the doubt. But my patience is wearing thin. Guild Polera Offset FG. Yeah, it's an SG. It's an SG. Next question. Time to upgrade your iMac Pro. Losing support. Waiting on M5 Studio, but need one to start some recording again. Thinking about a cheaper Mac Mini. Mac Mini is pretty good. Bang for the dollar there. I had a Mac Mini for a while. It was pretty solid. For what you want to do, you'll be fine. The only times you're going to run into real problems aren't applications you're going to run into. Because you're going to be really working the video engine for that. You're going to be really working intense projects with Final Cut and really doing some advanced editing to be able to push one of those hard enough. But, I mean, you've run Pro Tools. You run Pro Tools. A new, or even if you pick up like an M4 Mac Mini, just make sure it has adequate RAM. You know that. Don't buy the budget one with the least amount of RAM, but you'll be good. I'm using a Mac One Studio. It's almost time for this thing to go too. But I don't like a few things about the newer ones, and they're not cheap, obviously. So we're going to ride this one until it crashes out and dies. And that'll be the end of that. Got a problem with Stadium? I got problems. Well, there are problems. I'll tell you, all this digital crap, it all sucks. It's all so beautiful on paper, and it's also beautiful when it works. You want to see something else that doesn't work? So while Stadium's having its problems, this thing don't work either. This don't work either. This is going back. That's why it's in the box. Sick of it. Sick of it. You know what's really funny? The only one I can count on that has not failed me since I got it, that's just a freaking rock star, is the Tonex. Yeah, Tonex. Go figure. Now, in the long haul here, I know Stadium will be fantastic. I have very little doubt in my mind. I'll get into more of the reasons why I think that problems have happened in a different kind of context. So I really didn't want to dive too much into Stadium today. But overall, we've just, as people, and this goes back to what I was saying before, is we're not just in the guitar world. Products that aren't finished should not be released anymore. Like, it just shouldn't be. It just shouldn't be. There should be better quality control checks all around. Now, Stadium in particular is an interesting circumstance because the crowd, or the audience, cried and begged, "We don't care if there's bugs, release it now, I need my new toy for Christmas." And that actually is what happened. Line 6 released a poll, or just like, do you just want us to release it now, or do you want to wait until, we have firmware where we want it to be upon release? And everyone, no, I need it now, I don't care. And then it comes out now, it's just like, you released broken stuff, this is garbage. Well, why did they release early? Why did they do that, Mr. Customer on the gear page, Mr. Customer on the Facebook Helix group? Why would they have ever done that? Could it have been because you were so desperate to get the shiny new toy that you told them explicitly when asked that you didn't care. And then when it does have problems that you said you wouldn't have cared about, you threw your toys out of the pram. Can't win. I think the mistake that Line 6 made was even taking the opinion of the consumer at all at that point was something that serious. That's not like a preference thing. That's like okay, we want our product to launch in the best possible shape that it can, fully functional with no problems, and delaying it to make sure everything was going to be perfect out of the box. Because no matter what, even if the software and firmware was all perfect, there's always going to be 1 or 2 units where it's electronics. Stuff's going to break. Stuff's just not going to work. You're going to have to DOA. It's going to get replaced, okay? But because they did listen, and, the internet, one negative review is as loud as 100,000 positive ones. I don't know. It's not something I would have done. It's not something I would have done. And here I am now on my over a week of talking to their customer support with no resolution or no offer of a resolution thus far. So we'll see what happens with that. I could have made a rage video. You guys are going to laugh when you see the clip. Because the sounds that this thing makes, oh boy. Oh boy. Imagine, when you hear it, I want you to think about what would happen if you were in the middle of a show and this happened to you. Or imagine you were playing a wedding and this happened during the first dance. You wouldn't be able to physically survive the wife, the bride. You would have ruined her entire wedding. And I'm not exaggerating. You would have ruined it. Wouldn't have gone well. You're going to really learn Luna and try not to use Pro Tools or Waves. Just Luna, Softtube, Plugin Alliance, and a couple other projects. Going to trash a lot of plugs on the new machine. Yeah, you don't need it all, man. I mean, the UA stuff nowadays is so adequate. And if you know what you're doing, you can make anything. Dude, you can make the stock Pro Tools plugins work if you know what you're doing. I've seen it to my disbelief. I was like, I always thought that thing was useless. Not in the hands of a professional. It's not. It's fascinating. But yeah, with Luna, Luna's pretty good. There are a few things I don't love about it, but as a whole, I think it's the second best option right now. And if I was ever going to leave Pro Tools, it would be for Luna. You nailed it. The customer wanted it now, but are angry. It had bugs, and they said it would have. Americans have no patience. Oh, it's not just Americans, my friend. You think it's just Americans. It's basically just Western culture, and that's not exclusive to America. It's not exclusive to America. A little bit wider of a scope. But in general, I agree with the sentiment. I want it now. I want to see the video to hear the horrible sounds. Nobody could believe it was making those sounds. Nobody can believe it's making those sounds. I have a workaround for it, so it's not doing it now, but like the fact that this can happen if you use basic functionality of the stadium is like, this isn't good. So I'll see what they emailed today. I'm not letting it stress me out too much because it's whatever, dude. I got other crap I can use, but I'm kind of over it. Leads me into the next thing I wanted to talk about, because I said I wanted to talk about it, so I might as well. Not be one of those streams where I say I'm going to talk about something somebody watches for the entire time and I never touch on it, and I get, rightfully so scorned, or scolded rather, in the comment section. And that is the combination, or the team-up, collaboration, between Earthquaker Devices and Dr. Z. Yeah. Who likes a Dr. Z amp? This guy. Who likes Earthquaker Devices? This guy. I've had that Astral Destiny for ages. I love that thing. I can't think of a pedal that can replace it. It's just such a cool thing for specific songs. Like, I can never hear songs without that, original songs, without that effect. It is amazing. They combined and they made a analog preamp, 2 preamp pedal. Let's see if I can find it. Well, I know I can find it. It's a matter of actually finding it. No, that's not it. Oh, no, it did the thing. Every time, and then I have to repeat myself. I'm not going to do it today, though. Earthquaker devices. Dr. Z. ZQD. ZQD to save the day. And something like this is getting more and more appealing as I have a problem. So, the ZQD all analog simulation solution. All right. Well, this pedal just came out and it's got a headphone amp. It's got an XLR out to go to the front of the house. You could use it as an amplifier if you wanted to do that. Great. You could bypass all the onboard IRs you want to use, a billion other ones. But this is what makes it cool. It's the EFX tube. I'm a huge fan of this. It really does, buzzword, but it to me, without saying their pristine hi-fi tone, to me it really does help give the Z the feel of the Z. And I love it. I love the Z. You guys know I love the Z. So the things that I like, I was going to say, you're not going to show me all the pictures. It's a simple design. It's a pedal size design. It's meant to sit at the end of your board, okay? And if you're wondering, that's actually the tube in the middle, okay? Now, the side here, you got a headphone out, a bypass, and a ground lift. Great, and a direct out. First problem some people are having, it's mono. Crimea River, right? Now, the top here, I'm guessing input, which would make sense. And then this one is either going to be a through or external foot switch that'll let you do something. Although I'm not sure why you would need an external foot switch, because you have on the front of it a boost control right here. So you have a push for the boost on its own. The gain is very, very akin sounding, not the same, but akin to like when I dime the Z Plus. I love it. I love that Dr. Z gain. It's very 6v6y. And it's simple, okay? It just works. It works. No software, no hardware. I mean, no digital hardware. No menus. And that's it. And a lifetime warranty. What do you know? Okay? I just thought that was pretty cool. Now, where I think that a lot of people are going to complain about this thing, first of all, there's not even a mono effects loop. That's going to kill it for a lot of people. Does that kill it for me? Not necessarily. But that's going to kill it for a lot of people. I know that. And then obviously no stereo effects loop. That just makes it even worse now, doesn't it? But I think for people that are more simple, the other thing that I don't fully get, like if you look at your pedal board, or you think about how, if you use an effects loop, how your signal flow works. Your guitar is going into your tuner, that's going into your drives, and if you have a guitar with an effects loop, after, some people like modulation in front of the amp, some people don't. I do. So after either a chorus or a univibe or a phaser, I would throw into the front of the amp. And then in the effects loop, I have all my time-based stuff, so delays, reverbs of that nature. The problem that you have with the ZQD, if you were to look at that, because the XLR out is coming straight from there, you're not going to be as easy. I mean, you can do it, but it's not going to be as simple for you to then route into your time-based effects after that, because you're going to need an XLR to a TS or a TRS, depending on the pedal that you're plugging into. And then at that point, you're going to run into a problem that really the ZQD was going to solve for you. Because say you're running it into a stereo Strymon pedal, all right? You get your mono in, then you have your stereo outs, that goes into the next stereo pedal, and then however many, just call it 2. Out of the second one there, you have no XLR outs. So what are you going to need? Well, if you want to use XLRs to the front of house and not rely on TS or TRS cables, you're going to need either, the male end to be the TS or the TRS, and then the female end to be the XLR, There's cables that do that, but if you want a pure XLR connection, you're going to need a third piece of gear, which is going to be something along the lines of like the Strymon PCH. So then you're plugging in your TS or your TRS cables into the PCH, and then the XLR outs are going from there, or the Walrus Audio Canvas Stereo. And it's just more stuff. So that one little decision is kind of strange to me. I think that I know what they're going for. They're going for something that's simple. They're going for something that, you know, somebody who doesn't want to deal with all this crap doesn't want to deal with. But I just know how people react. Like, I remember when the Supro Airwave released, they got freaking torched for that not having an effects loop. Like, torched. Absolutely torched. Which I don't get. I don't know about you guys. I don't need an effects loop. I don't. Like, I actually really prefer, in some instances, running delays in front of the amp with drive. I think it's like, you can get so many cooler sounds doing it that way. But a lot of music is so hi-fi and so, you know, like 80 billion choruses and 80 billion reverbs and effects and stuff like that. And it's fun to play that ambient stuff. But it makes it so something like that isn't a viable solution for a lot of players. Or in order to make it work, you'd have to really juggle stuff around. So curious to see what you guys would think about that. But I wanted to bring it up because I like both of those brands a lot. I do. The Astro Destiny was your first. Been a fan ever since. I love the Astro Destiny. It's just such an incredible pedal. Such an incredible pedal. Gone through a lot of digital models. Ended up with the Fractal, which has been a blast. Digital solution. Going to sell it because the novelty is worn off. Sticking with analog. Yeah, I don't blame you. It's more of a convenience thing. It's more of a quality of life thing. It's a consistency of sound thing. It makes your life easier when it works. You don't have to deal with as much maintenance. Like, and here we are talking about bugs and problems, but at the end of the day here, we're not talking about every few years you're going to have to dump hundreds of dollars. And depending on the amp and how the circuit is, you could spend, without blinking an eye, and not even on top tier, not on new old stock tubes, a few $100s, no problem, retubing an amplifier. And you're going to have to keep doing that and keep doing that and keep doing that. So the cost of ownership isn't exactly done once you spend the money on it. And then, you know, you have components that can fail. It's just like an analog car. To me, I'm a fan of that, obviously. I mean, we got old reliable back here, the old Music Man. But to a lot of people, they look at that and they're like, if I can just not deal with that, that would be great. And also, you have to live in an area where, you know, the people are competent enough to be able to service these things. And those skills are becoming harder to find. So I think it's a really good time. And, you know, people are complaining about AI and all that, but like, I think it's a really good time to learn a physical skill that is unique, that does have a market, because there's always going to be people that want to do that. There's going to be in all sorts of different markets too, that you can learn a skill, even if it's just fixing bicycles. You can make money doing that. I don't know. Trying to look at the positives. I'm the happiest I've been with the Tone King Imperial preamp. I hate it. I hate that thing. It's a piece of junk. I said that on camera. I shouldn't have said that on camera. That's too harsh. But it doesn't work. That made noises that are just as bad, if not worse, than the Stadium. Unusable. Completely unusable. Out of the box. Completely unusable. And when I sent emails with video clips of that thing, I've not heard a thing back. Nothing back, actually. I'm going to have to make a phone call today about that. But I'm desperately trying to send it back. The lead channel works fine. The clean channel, no. It's completely unusable. And it's nothing to do with power supplies, nothing else. It's just no good. No good. I'm happy yours didn't show up brand new, broken, or non-functioning. But mine did. And I was desperate for a solution, a pinch solution, because the Stadium was having some problems. And I thought, you know what, we'll try. Failure to Launch is the name of the movie. And it also totally describes the experience I had with the Imperial preamp. So never again. $600 on a Chinese-made Synergy preamp module thing with firmware and all this. No, I'm good. I'm much more in the line of camp that I'd rather have the ZQD. I'd much rather have that. I'm just frustrated. You ever played around with the Dr. Z reverb tank? The external one? Yeah. I like it. I don't know. I don't love it as much as an older Fender one. This is just purely subjective taste. Because with the older Fender one, it's just a sound that's more, it's just right to my ears. You know, ideally nothing beats just the tube-driven spring reverb built into either blackface, silverface, Princeton, or deluxe reverb, or even like a twin. You want to get really crazy. Those are where it's at. Those are really like, those are the sound to me. But short of having one of those amplifiers, the Fender outboard tank, I think does the best job. I think it blows away the Surfy Bear. I don't even think that thing's even close to a real Fender tank. But the Z one, it's just a different flavor, and it goes back to so much like, if you didn't grow up hearing like that sort of Fender sound or listening to music that had that sort of Fender sound where it's just like that's the sound that you hear in your head, because everyone's different. Like the music you listen to influences, you know, to some extent or another, even if you're not trying to sound exactly like that band, like what your sonic palette preferences are, you know. So if you never heard any of that and you hear the Z, and it's just like you're just totally fresh to either one, you might prefer the Z, and I'd be like, yeah, I get it. I totally get it. I know the quality's great. Dr. Z don't build junk. He don't build junk. So I would stand behind it, and I'd recommend it if you're into that sound. Over 100 gigs, it couldn't even make it 5 minutes. Failed within 5 minutes. Mine. 5 minutes. $600 Chinese-made pedal. Never going to happen again. Plus, it's been on daily for hours. Sorry, yours came busted. It nails nothing for me. See, it's funny because with the Line 6 stuff, I'm being way more forgiving. And you can see, like, I instantly got in a bad mood with the Imperial preamp. That's just my natural kind of thing here. Because it's so simple. It is so simple. And on paper, I see why Greg likes it. And honestly, the reason why, you know, I thought it was a potential kind of like good idea is because it has a stereo effects loop in it. What other thing in that price has that? Nothing. I like the way Tone King sound. Do you know how many freaking videos I made with Tone King products? I loved it. But you also have to remember the last experience I had with Tone King, although let's call a spade here. Okay? The last experience I had with Tone King was with the Falcon Grande. The Falcon Grande, I went through 4 of them. None of them worked. And that's with them going back and forth from me to them directly and back to me. Sweetwater was sending me a replacement. That one going back. Yada, yada, yada. And none of them worked. All of them were down to the same fundamental problem that I told them I thought it was the very first time, and that was the location of the reverb tank causing that extreme hum, because you can't have it that close to the speaker. I even knew that. And it just never worked out. So I was already kind of on a sour note with them, and you know, I haven't played Tone King stuff after that. But then this pedal shows up, and it's made by totally different people. This thing's at least like the Falcon Grande, the real Imperial, the amplifier, the one we all want, and the Gremlin, as well as the Royalist, they're made here, you know. So when I see like the higher price tags for stuff like that, I'm like, yeah, regardless of the fact that, you know, boutique amp distribution are the ones making this, it's still made here. I look at the Chinese-made preamp pedal. That thing better be perfect out of the box for $600, and it wasn't. It wasn't. And no firmware update solved it. It is what it is. So I'm not very happy with them. Not very happy with them. They had one job, to create one sound. It is what it is. Like I said, it's in the box. It's going back. You're not going to see me make a video trashing the thing. This is the only time we're ever going to speak of this thing ever again. But not happy with that. And then for $400, I could have the ZQD. That's all analog. That has a lifetime warranty. That was built here in America by two great American brands, not outsourced. I'll take it. No, the Gremlin was great. The Gremlin, dude, that thing, that's one of the best modern guitar amps out there. And that's the thing, like, I can be disappointed in certain products, but at the same time, like, when a company nails it, I'll praise them for it. That Gremlin is the only way they can make the Gremlin a little bit better was if the line out was an XLR. That's it. It didn't even have, you don't even need a cab sim involved in it. If you wanted to add that for even, icing on top here, you could do that. But that amplifier was outstanding. It's so reliable. It's a simple circuit. It is so easy to work on. It is so easy to just, something goes wrong in a pinch. It's very accessible. The design of it was designed so that you weren't going to have to spend an hour on the bench just disassembling the thing so you could even do basic things such as, testing tubes and stuff like that. And a lot of the cheaper amps, you got to pull the whole board. You got to pull everything. And that's a pain in the ass. And if you don't know how to do that, you're paying for that labor, the time to do that and do that safely and correctly. So the Gremlin, being able to sound awesome, come with the Iron Man attenuator in it. You can play it any day of the night, any time of the day or the night rather. It sounds so good. It's got the 12-inch speaker. To me, that's their second best amp. That's their second best amp. I think the Imperial is the best one, only because... Actually, no, forget the XLR thing. That's nonsense. The only way you can make the Gremlin better is you give it the reverb. You don't have to give it the tremolo, but you give that the reverb. Oof. That would have been a killer at that point. That would have been a killer. But, yeah, I loved that. The Falcon Grande was the one that I had major problems with. And then I never bought another Tone King after that. Until this, which wasn't made by Tone King, really. It was licensed. And then made by Synergy, I think. Don't quote me on that, but I believe it's Synergy who was making these things. Do you miss the Gremlin? Yeah, honestly, I do. There's times I think about the Gremlin and like, because practically sense, and if I could run line out from the Gremlin, not have to use a load box, not have to use all these extra wires, I just run a line out into the Apollo like I used to do as a kind of a fail-safe, right? In case anything ever happened with the microphone, or just stuff happens when you record guitars. Doesn't matter what your rig is. It's inevitable. Things go wrong or bleed into your sound source and you can't use it, like a barking freaking dog. I have one of those in my old house. That was just, he was terrible, but it sounds so fundamentally different from the Princeton. But I don't think that they're a fair like-for-like comparison. I just don't. I think that they're two totally different tools, and I think the mistake that I made was trying to directly compare two things that shouldn't have been compared to begin with. And a lot of that comes down with the marketing because, they advertise it as like the small blackface amp, and they might as well just say Fender Princeton on the main channel. And then the lead channel is the Tweed channel. But very different. Very different. Playing experiences are different. Sounds are significantly different because the speakers are significantly different in how they're designed. So it would be cool to have both, but I don't need both. And at the end of the day here, I have the Z. I don't have much more to say to that. I love that Z. That Z will last as long as I take into it. Dr. Z and Earthquaker are right here in your main area. Good dudes. A lot of their product content is locally. So yeah, I know. That's part of the reason I'm like, yeah, well, why wouldn't I go for a better made product by people that really, really give a shit about the customers, that are really in tune with the community,
It's not always just about the latest and greatest. It's about building stuff that works and then standing behind the product. Lifetime warranty? Are you nuts? And then, when I had my problems with that Z Plus, it got sorted. It's good. Talked to Mike on the phone personally. Guy cares. That's a lot more than I can say for a lot of manufacturers, by the way. Forget even getting emails back. Synergy makes the pedal. Yeah, of course they do. That makes a lot of sense then. You found a handmade Vibro Champ locally for $500, but I'm debating going to a Gremlin for double the price. It's an interesting one. You mean handmade as in like a Mojo turn circuit? Like they just did a Mojo turn? Or something of that nature? Or are you talking about an original like Silverface? If you found a Silverface Vibro Champ, that's not even that far off. Because you can get a Silverface Champ for that price still locally. You're not going to get that at a shop. But from a private seller, you can get that for about $500, Silverface Champs. So if you found a Vibro Champ, as long as it functioned, and it was an actual Silverface for $500, I wouldn't look at the Gremlin. I'd go grab one of those. My own personal opinion. That changes a little bit, though, if it's, you're following a schematic and you're doing a rebuild, reissue. You don't know who initially did the build. You don't know the quality of all of it. It gets a little dicey at that point. And I can see why the Gremlin's appealing. I like them both. Now, what do you know? You guys made friends. Oh, no. Mojo Tone is very high quality. I love their stuff. Big fan. I'm also a big fan of their pickups. Did you know that? I know everybody thinks I'm just like Lawler guy on this channel, but I think Mojo Tone make fantastic pickups. Really, really high quality stuff. They're a great brand. And they're really good if you're looking for spare parts that are high quality and you're building an amplifier or you're trying to upgrade an amplifier that was mass produced. Like the Fender Princeton and the Marshall Studio Vintage that I have both greatly benefited from a few minor Mojo Tone tweaks for little parts. Just little things. But yeah, they're great. I love Mojo Tone. I would definitely recommend that anybody support them. For older sounding Fender, yeah, Lawlers are a little bit more modern, but I actually prefer the Mojo Tone humbuckers. I think that their 59 clones are incredible. I don't have a set of Lawler humbuckers. I have the Lawlertrons, but I don't have like full-on Lawler humbuckers. I have the Mojo Tones. I see no reason to upgrade. They're to die for. I love them. But that's awesome. You guys are local to each other. Ohio boys. Ohio. I'm looking at the Z. I'm going to try and play it. So, it's been a little slow. We're at the end of the stream, so I'll get into it a little bit. I said this earlier, but I'm having a really hard time with the lighting and sitting and filming. I keep a lot of stuff going on because there's two reasons why I do this. Number one, I know that people click on this channel, they click on it for entertainment or for escapism. Fully understand that and I respect that. That's why I try not to make it about like personal stuff. I don't include my family. None of that. You don't need to know. Totally separate thing. But I'm not doing the best. And hopefully it'll get better. But right now I just don't have the capacity to be doing as much as I would like to be doing. So things are, for the foreseeable, I don't know how long. Just going to be kind of like this. Maybe we pop on, we can do a stream because this is mellow. Like the lighting just isn't totally on me. And yeah, talking isn't the biggest strain in the whole world. I can always find a way to yap. But playing has been difficult. That's all I'm going to say about that. I don't think I'm dying, and I, So I'm not trying to get any like sympathy out of that. I'm just, explaining why there's just not been as much, and I wouldn't promise you to expect very much. There'll be some stuff, but yeah, that's all I'm gonna say about that. But thank you guys for tuning in today. Maybe tomorrow or maybe Saturday. There will be something this week. It might just be one video a week for a little bit. And then there's stuff in the background going on. There's always stuff in the background. Not all of it is related to guitars or YouTube. More important than that. And it's not anything as serious as what I was just talking about. It's positive stuff. But yeah, I managed to go another full stream that my Coke is now lukewarm. I'm going to go back in the freezer. I'm going to finish it. But thank you all for watching. And I will check you all on the next one. Adios.